Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to tackle together climate change and its impacts on different sectors, particularly agriculture. And climate change is a global phenomenon, but Africa is the continent suffering more. We are going to know more details and to discuss together the phenomena from scratch with my dear guest live here in the studio, engineer Hassan Shabaan, former vice chairperson of the Farmers Syndicates. Thank you very much for being with us, and a very good morning.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course, so many people, millions of people around the world heard this term millions of times, climate change. Let's go, before going into more details, to give a very simple definition of climate change and the difference between climate change and natural climate varieties. And to shed also more light on its causes, whether it's human-induced or there is another natural side of the coin.
Well, I have to make it clear that there is a great deal of difference between climate changes and global warming. Global warming might be one of the reasons for the climate changes, but definitely the interference of humankind in nature is one of the major elements that affects the climate changes, like cutting jungles in Brasilia and Amazon area, which is one of the areas that actually produces a lot of oxygen and
lungs of Earth.
Right. And Africa also, desert is really one of the main issues that actually affect the climate changes. Actually, when you look at it, the situation in Africa, for instance, Africa has a huge desert, which is in the north of Africa. And the only way that you can improve the severe effect of the climate changes is by turning the face of the desert to greenery. Whatever, even if this greenery was not really something that you harvest or something like this, but you're going to have to change the face of the desert, because the desert acts as a great mirror, actually. It reflects the heat, reduces the amount of humidity, it doesn't attract clouds, so you don't have rain. This is one of the issues. So in order for you to interfere and try to make Africa as an attractive place for clouds, for that will improve the climate conditions, you're going to have to change the face of the desert. And this is a task, a major task in Africa, that you're going to have a program where you, whether you use the land, if it's fertile land, fine, and you can explore the underground water to create new communities and so forth. But again, it requires a good technical program. In Egypt, we have a situation where the concentration of the population lies actually valley and the delta. One of the things, when you look at the program for climate changes in Egypt and the effect of climate changes in
Egypt. We are going to go through that, sir, but please, before going to this, I'd like to know how we get acquainted with the features of climate change. I mean, do we have, for example, changes in the rain patterns, in the length of each season throughout the year, in having more floods, more natural catastrophes or disasters, I'm sorry to say that, more floods, more wildfires, more landslides, stuff like that? And if this is true, since when? Since when we decided, or we became pretty sure that, oh, this is not something natural, this is happening because of the climate change?
Well, actually, there is definitely changes in the climate. We've witnessed this this year in Egypt. It was obvious that the summer was not early as it used to be. I mean, normally the temperature degree actually rises in the end of spring, but this year it was different. Generally speaking, the climate changes will be considered as a permanent change if it is repeated over a number of years.
Okay.
I mean, you really cannot really program something unless it is repeated and you have good data for temperature, for rainfall, for storms, for wind. All of this together form the formula of climate changes. In Egypt, we actually experienced climate change, definitely. For a very long time, for decades and decades, we always knew that certain months, especially for farmers actually, the Coptic calendar was the control of the agricultural agenda for the farmer.
Yeah.
You know, definitely this have changed. We grow a lot of crops right now, regardless of the old school actually. Unfortunately, this heritage from the
ancient Egyptian civilization
is no longer applicable 100%. It's have changed actually, and we grow crops in certain periods of the year that was not really
the case before.
Right.
But sir, what were the most important effects of climate change on the sector of agriculture globally?
Well, this is a very serious question actually, because actually again, for decades and decades, we had an agricultural map for the planet the whole time. I mean, we knew that these countries actually produce wheat, these countries produce corn, and we get certain crops from certain countries. But again, once the climate change affects these countries, say the temperature will fall, say in the north of Earth. Ukraine, in spite of the fact that there is a war over there, but Ukraine and Russia were major producers of
grains. All grains.
Okay, so if you have a climate change that affects these countries, definitely you're going to have to look for new sources of these plants actually. So I think we are witnessing a major change globally, and it's not settled yet. I mean, the whole thing is still subject to changes. It's not a final map or a final behavior for the climate. I think globally we're going to have to humanity will have to face these new challenges and come up with new programs.
This is it. How to fight that or to face that? Is it with using modern technologies, is it to take into consideration that no more potable or clear water, we should use some crops, for example, to be irrigated by sea water, or to develop some seeds which needs a very, very little amount of water to grow, to take into consideration that we are going to use the desert, as you've kindly mentioned? What?
Well, what you've just said is perfect. This is very true.
Applicable, sir?
Applicable, yes. Because actually, we have large areas of desert in Egypt. Growing plants are irrigated by salt water, seawater. It is feasible. A lot of people are against this idea. because they think that this is eatable plants. No, I'm talking about plants are suitable for cattle, for camels. You could have the largest camel plantation in Africa if you grow the halophyte. Silicornia is a plant that everybody in the agricultural sector and the researchers know about the silicornia, and we could grow the halophyte on irrigated directly on seawater, and this is a good food for cattle. Also, we could, have studies for how to utilize with maximum benefit the river Nile water. Actually, we're going to have to get rid of all the old illusions that the desert is no good for agriculture. No, desert is very suitable for certain types of crops, vegetable, fruits. All of this is very suitable in the desert, and we're going to have to appreciate what we have in our country. Meaning, of course, the lake behind the high dam, there is a lot of sedimentation, for instance, that takes place. All the mud that comes from Ethiopia and from Sudan actually is settled behind the high dam.
The high dam.
We could actually dredge this silt, dry it, pack it in sacks, and use it in growing new trees in the desert. We don't have to cultivate the whole. I will just, in the location of the tree that I will grow.
You mean that this mud can be the alternative of reclaiming the land?
Of course, yes.
And turn the desert into
Definitely.
a fertile,
Right.
meaning that only, but this is only to cover the surface?
No, it's only feed the tree itself. I'm not going to change the face of the earth.
What's the difference between this and fertilizers, sir?
Actually, the lifetime for a fertilizer is limited.
Short.
Because of the ammonia. But when you have a soil, dark soil, that contains a lot of elements that the plant requires, it lasts forever. I mean, we owe the delta to the river Nile. I mean, we're talking about...
We owe Egypt to the river Nile. We
right.
are Kemet, or
Right.
the dark soil,
Exactly.
Egypt or Misr, because of this. But sir, I'm going to return back to this because there is another term now used because of the climate change: climate smart agriculture.
Yes.
What's climate smart agriculture?
Actually, you're trying to utilize the climate changes to have suitable crops to cope with these changes. I mean, you don't have to stick to certain crops all the time because you're used to grow this crop in this way, or in this area. You need to cope with the changes. As the weather change, you could actually grow new crops. In the past, we used to grow certain types of corn, for instance, in Egypt. We grow corn right now in a very early stage. In a lot of people's opinion, that no, this will not work out because the temperature is still low. I mean, we in the end of February we grow corn right now, and that was not really realistic to a lot of farmers in the beginning, but we grow it. So actually, you're going to have to be flexible, cope with the climate changes, and you're going to have your agricultural changes as well to cope with these.
Can I call this successful adaptation?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have strategies for successful adaptation for what you're saying, sir? I mean, is it implemented on the ground?
Well, I don't think so far we have a strategy, because actually we're still witnessing the changes. I think we're going to have a program that, you know, an agricultural program that actually distributes the different crops among the, you know, the 100 or the million square kilometers that we have. We need to consider the redistribution of population as well. You see, we need to change philosophy of our you know, agricultural crops. We're going to have new crops. The shores of the Aswan Dam Lake, we have tried to grow tropical crops, pineapple, palm oil tree, a lot of these crops.
And I think this is exactly what's taking place, because we do have a strategy for soya oil, for example, because we were not that much used to
soya.
To have soya, but it's now implemented.
Minya is a major producer of soybean.
So we do have a strategy, and to speak about the 1.5 million fadans huge project, and you yourself, sir, I was honored to have you more than once in our programs, and you spoke with me about stevia and sugar cane.
Yes, exactly.
Would you please let's remind our viewers with this as an example?
The sugar cane, actually, we are suffering from severe you know, shortage of water, because we need to develop.
Yes.
Okay, and sugar cane actually consumes a lot of this water, actually.
And only once per year?
Yes.
Yeah. But
if we grow stevia and have a law that controls, like stevia, 1 faddan of stevia equals 300 faddans of sugar cane. So actually, the sugar produced out of stevia could be used in dessert factories, in soda pop factories, industrially. For home, you know, use, we could still use sugar cane that we produce. And again, we have a big gap. In our, you know, we import a lot of sugar still. But if we grow stevia, this gap. I mean, yes, we have sugar cane and we have stevia, and we use stevia for a certain purpose, medically. You know, a lot of people who are diabetic, they use stevia. So actually, we need to have a program, a very ambitious program, and very thorough, to utilize our land, whether it's desert, whether it's you know, the delta and the valley, utilize the water resources, underground water resources, the River Nile, the sedimentation soil behind the Aswan Dam, all of this.
But you're going to find people start speaking about the Delta or Alexandria that they're going to disappear because of climate change or the city's erosion and stuff like that. I mean, how we can just make it more simple to the layman in the street that this is not the case, or at least we are not going to permit this to happen.
Well, let me put it this way. If the climate changes proves for a number of years that, say, the Mediterranean water level, sea level, is rising, for instance, and this is what's been being said for some time, that the Mediterranean water is rising due to the melting of the North and the South Pole and so forth.
Yeah.
Actually, this is not really an Egyptian issue only. This is all the countries that actually looks over the Mediterranean will suffer from something like this. And definitely we're going to have a solution that we can use, or a project that we can use to control the rise of the Mediterranean Sea water. And Gibraltar, maybe we're going to have a dam over there. and all of the country, the adjacent neighboring countries around the Mediterranean will contribute to this project. I think once it proves that it is serious and we are being affected, definitely we will not stand still till actually the Delta drowns. Actually, we're going to have to face the issue just like any other country in the area.
We here means the planet. I think it's not we Egyptians.
Yes.
No, it's the planet.
Yes.
And since it's a must to cooperate together to fight this, because we are speaking about a global phenomenon. How do you see the outcomes of the COPs we had? And of course, our COP27, which was held here in Egypt, it was mainly dedicated to Africa. The loss and damage was one of the outcomes. How do you see this as simply, media is very important to speak about Africa as the continent suffering more, despite the fact that we are paying the price for something we did not commit. So how do you see efforts exerted by the COPs to, the COP conferences, to just urge the international community to take action?
I think all the conferences, the COP conferences actually yield positive results, because now we are on the international map and we actually are communicating and coordinating with the advanced countries that really have budgets to face the climate changes and so forth. Especially some of these countries actually benefited a lot from Africa when Africa was occupied by these major and superpowers. Actually, Africa suffered because we lost a lot of fertile land and a lot of areas were covered with greenery and so forth. But again, I think Africa has the staff and the experience now to be able to communicate internationally with the expertise from.
In fact, sir, in the last meeting or the mid-year meeting of the AU, which took place, the mid-year meetings took place in Malabo in Equatorial Guinea only a few days ago. Among the most important files which were discussed, it was climate change. One final question, sir, because so many people now are speaking about climate change as something which AI can solve. The new technologies. Now, with artificial intelligence, we can conquer this phenomena, because with AI, we are going to expect when the floods are going to happen, when landslides are going to happen, when rains are going to fall heavily, when. How do you see this? Is it applicable, or is it only one of the things we are dreaming of using AI?
I think AI will solve our problems. Unfortunately, the human brain will be redundant after a while. But again, the data provided to the AI is man-made, actually.
Yeah,
so I think if we actually depend on AI to solve the global warming or the climate changes, I think we will benefit, because definitely the speed of the AI programs are faster than right, and we're going to have to admit that that AI will help humanity unless humanity decide otherwise.
Sir, thank you very much for your input, and have a very good day.
Thank you for inviting me.
We are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio Engineer Hassan Shabaan, former Vice President of the Syndicate of Farmers. Well, we do have a positive note here. Climate change is there, and it's a real phenomenon, but all the time there are opportunities out of challenges. Right after the short break, I'm going to be back with more, so stay tuned.